Welcome back to BLOCKTV, where it is time for Cryptonomics, connecting cryptocurrency, the market, to the events taking place in the world. And of course, the first thing, the price of Bitcoin fell by roughly $1,000 on Tuesday over the course of a few short hours. That while the price fluctuations in Bitcoin are normal, the correlation with the high-stakes hearings at the Senate on another digital asset, namely Facebook's Libra, drove some analysts to draw a direct connection. Now, to help make sense of the recent price movements, I am joined in studio by the one and only BLOCKTV's analyst, senior correspondent, Asher Westrup-Evans. Asher, hello to you. We had those Facebook hearings first and foremost. The price, though, at the time of this taping, not looking so good.
No, certainly not. At the time of taping, we're hovering just below 9,200. Really a very steep decline. And as you say, there is that correlative effect going on with what we saw in the Senate happening yesterday. Interesting to note when the next Senate hearing comes up, how people are going, the next congressional hearing comes up, how it's going to fare even further. It will remain to be seen. But it is interesting because there's a lot of analysis out there quite surprised by how this went down, because there wasn't that much in the way of Bitcoin bashing that came out. There was
barely Bitcoin mentioned.
Barely, exactly. This seemed to really be focused on Facebook, and if anything, a lot of the criticism that Facebook faced, actually, Bitcoin is immune from, given the truly decentralized nature of the currency. But Facebook really and Libra really did take a pretty severe bashing on a number of different fronts. Most notably, one thing to look at, we saw a couple of key lines that I took away from it. So firstly, we had an encounter between David Marcus and Senator Tester, a Democrat from Montana, referring to issues of theft. Let's maybe take a listen to what they had to say.
In cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, transactions are final. That means if somebody gets hacked, if somebody steals Bitcoin, there's not much I can do about it. On the other hand, if somebody steals funds from a bank account or makes fraudulent charges on a credit card, the consumer, for the most part, almost always, is held whole by the institution. How will Libra handle theft?
Senator, I can speak for the Calibra wallet, and the Calibra wallet will offer consumer protection against fraud and account recovery the same way that the leading wallets today out there and financial services company provide.
Seemingly, that's actually a very promising thing if one is not knowledgeable enough, or but listening on the outside. This is great. I'll get my money back.
Yes, certainly it is. It's saying it's great and they'll get your money back. However, it does also highlight a lot of the flaws that exist, I guess, in the current crypto industry. Maybe flaws, maybe strengths, depending on who you ask. Dan Held, when he was on yesterday, called that a strength, saying that the finality of transactions on a blockchain really gives credibility to the network. There's no takesies backsies, as it were. Things are final, things are done.
Final is final.
It emphasizes security, it emphasizes regulatory standards, it emphasizes keeping things set and secure, as is what a blockchain does. Facebook saying that Calibra will, David Marcus, they're rather saying Calibra will have access to returning people's money. He didn't specify the mechanism for how they do that, whether it be a safe refund, much like Binance.
Yeah, I'm going to pick up on that. He didn't specify much about mechanisms, and that's a very good point. Those were, again, very polished answers, but no specifics in many cases.
Very light on the substance. And addressing those points, though, I think might have been what has spooked the markets and potentially caused some of the impact that we're seeing in markets today. But it wasn't just limited to the individual. There was also the sort of larger scale issues that were brought up by the regulators yesterday, and that could also have spooked those particularly institutional players looking to get into the sphere. A particular encounter I want to focus on was from between Marcus and Senator Cortez Masto, a Democrat from Nevada, who was speaking about AML and counterterrorism issues. But let's take a listen.
Configuring the network.
So you're currently talking right now with FinCEN and FinCEN to get sign-off on how you address money laundering issues?
We are, Senator.
Okay. I appreciate you providing more transparency around that. And let me just say, this is a new day and age. When it comes to cash and carrying around a briefcase full of cash, transnational criminals and terrorist activities don't do that anymore. And what you are creating right now is an opportunity for them to engage in continuing money laundering and criminal activity. So know that.
Money laundering, AML, was mentioned so many times by the senators yesterday. Just one point, you and I had this discussion before we got into the studio. At the end of the day, illicit activities when it comes to currency will always occur. It does occur also in the fiat world.
Certainly.
Percentage-wise, it shows actually that terrorists will use, at this point in time, 2019, they use more fiat money to do their activities than crypto money. That said, does that show us that actually, the committee members, just like the rest of the world, aren't that well versed with the idea of cryptocurrency in many ways?
Look, whether they're well versed or not, I suppose the institutional argument, and of course governments are going to be the harbingers of institutional sentiment, they are raising the point that we've already got enough problems with the current system. Why bring a new system into play where there might be further problems? Now that's quite a conservative, narrow-minded sort of perspective, and many evangelists rather in the crypto sphere would come out and say because it provides a wealth
2008.
Exactly, it provides a wealth of potential and opportunity. As we've seen, 2008 poor handling of risk management within the financial sector in the US. Of course, we've seen money laundering in the billions, hundreds of billions coming through various financial institutions over the years tied to anything from cocaine money flowing through Florida
through banks, for which afterwards
the
they were
Panama
defined.
Papers, which
Exactly.
highlighted massive issues for how taxation is handled and other issues are handled throughout the world. And blockchain advocates will say that the blockchain with its immutable record allows regulators to keep track. And that was mentioned to some degree. We saw Kevin McCarthy, Senator McCarthy, come out and actually state at one point that he said that he likes Bitcoin because of the blockchain element and because of the
Because he likes
decentralized-
security.
Exactly, because he likes security, and that does provide security. So here, U.S. regulators are really coming against two heads, whether it be promoting innovation and developing that sort of innovative spirit, which the U.S. has been historically very well known for.
And all these, grilling questions by the Senate to David Marcus, the poor man tasked with the job of sitting in front of those panels, are really peanuts as opposed to what he will be facing in front of the House committee. Needless to say, Maxine Waters, who heads that committee, has made it a cause to try and stop Facebook Libras. But let's talk about all these hearings and what they're doing to the price. All of us thought last week when the President of the United States finally tweeted the word Bitcoin that is going to do wonders. No matter what he says,
Right.
the price is going to go
Right,
up.
the raising the awareness, raising the profile of cryptocurrencies as a whole would be an important step forward, a movement forward. We're not seeing that eventually at the moment, down 14%
It's completely
today.
the opposite, exactly.
Huge move down, but there's got to be some value put into that we saw such a big jump up when Libra was announced, or the sort of almost speculative, many said, on the potential of it. And so now a pullback might be naturally on the cards. And interestingly, we had Tyler Jenks speak to us, President and CIO of Lucid Investments, speak to us with a bit of a technical analysis perspective. We can take a listen to what he had to say.
If we can break up above 11,000 to the 12,000 area, I believe we can go much higher. If we break this bottom green line, and you were right, Ron, to point out 10,000 to 10,100, we could drop all the way back down to what I believe could be as low as 8,500 to 7,500. I'd be very interested in buying off of this green line. Right. So on this longer time frame, I think everybody can see that this long move up, starting back in March, has come to an end temporarily. We tried to get back above it here, and now we've been moving down for the last 8 days. And it looks to me like there's more downside coming.
That was Tyler Jenks, of course, Chief Investment Officer of Lucid Investment. I don't want to say predicting, but theorizing of another drop. That said, it's important to note Facebook's Libra. If we're looking at the effect of media on the price of Bitcoin, and important to note, Bitcoin ain't Libra, but somehow it keeps being mushed in, is that it has been getting a bashing in mainstream media.
Yeah, it certainly has.
Yeah.
The mainstream media has been very kind of heavy and strong against it, speaking, of course, addressing Facebook's history of privacy concerns. Naturally, I mean, coming up from that, the last time Facebook was so much in media was, of course, the Cambridge Analytica scandal, and Mark Zuckerberg testifying before Congress in that instance. So I guess there must be a lot of memories, institutional memory coming forward regarding that, and understandably so. But it's a point that you raised just then as well, that the fates of Bitcoin and of Libra seem to be at least somewhat intertwined at the moment, for now. Exactly. It'll be interesting to see if they do split in people's minds and in terms of the markets, whether they're able to take into two separate notes, or whether this is a binding forever, and those in the crypto sphere will have to tie their fates to Libra, something I think many would be unhappy to do.
Definitely. Asha Westrop Evans, thank you for that. As we said, Cryptonomics, we are Block TV. We'll be right back.
Bye.